Hello everybody, this is day 9 of the work I'm doing on Rogue Tanks, and I want to show off what I've done today. I've kind of revamped the versus mode menu. Before I think it just went to just like the first stage, but now I have a level select. So that choose a battleground, and I have, the mouse cursor selection working, and you can also, use keyboard of course and gamepad if you so desire. Let's go ahead and go into a level and I'll show you what else I've done. Ta-da! I now have graphics.
Sheesh, looks like she built it herself.
This is just like a forest level. Everything works the same as it should with bouncing bullets and stuff. But now, of course, now that we are in versus mode, I'll show you here I cannot shoot myself. The bullets bounce back and do not hurt me, but they will hurt the other player. There you go. And if I want, I can turn friendly fire on if I want to play that way, so that I have to be more careful with my bullets, because if I'm not, I could hurt myself by accident. Nothing happens right now when you defeat your opponents. I haven't gone into how the game handles victory and stuff in versus mode yet. That's not going to be a huge priority yet. But what else I've done, you can see as I move, there's tank tread marks being left behind. They are set to automatically fade over time, so those beginning tracks will for sure be gone eventually. It is a slow fade because I don't want it to be a noticeable fade, but yeah, there you go. Now they're starting to fade. You can kind of see almost gone. I will show you how I did it, but if you sit in the same spot a lot, it will leave a heavier mark. They are very tiny little lines, if you can tell from that video. And if you tap your way, it doesn't look any different than if you just hold the button. And that was a thing I had to deal with, but I'll show you how I handled it. Right now my mouse is on the screen and it's moving on this cursor and the keyboard won't work. But as soon as the mouse disappears, it will work, because the cursor is set to go to wherever the mouse is, but if the mouse doesn't move for like a full second, it automatically disables. So if you're not using the mouse as like a mouse and keyboard control, and also if my mouse isn't in the menu area, then even if I'm using the mouse, it won't move the cursor. I can use the keyboard to move the cursor with my mouse if it's not like in the area. All right, so let's go over the code. So this is my cursor for the level select room. So you've got the normal, if you press down, move the cursor down a row. Yeah, I have like a new variable that's just like how many spaces are in a row. I can show you that. Yeah, versus mode. So like a versus cursor is like a new cursor. The versus row length is there's 6 on each row. And then the versus mode is just true or false. This is used for hurting other players and not yourself in versus mode. That reminds me, I need to set this to false when I return to the main menu so it doesn't carry over into the campaign mode. The versus mode thing is still the same, where as soon as you click on how many players, it creates those players, and then it creates a list of levels. This is to refer to back later when picking a level, but yeah, it clears the the room list, and it fills it with, my easy room array, my normal room array, and then you go to the versus level, select, that's like the level select for versus mode. If you hit cancel, oh, versus mode equals false, it's right there. Okay, I guess I don't need to add it anywhere else then. That should be good. And then there's the mouse thing, that's just for picking how many players. Here's the actual versus level select thing. And this 50 is just a placeholder number. It'll change based on how many rooms I actually have for how many levels there are. But yeah, it's just like the down, increase it by a row, up, decrease it by a row. If it's less than 0, then put it at the maximum rows. Cursor right, same thing. It's just going to increment 1. So the cursor moves left to right 1 space at a time. And if you go down a row, then it jumps like that many spaces. That's the way my cursor is working. Hit cancel, destroy all object players, because going into this menu level creates the players. So I need to destroy them if you back out. And then here is the confirm for like a mouse button click, or just confirm from keyboard or gamepad. Versus mode is then true. Actually, that's this isn't enough. Well, this is enough to set to true, but it's not enough to set to false when you back out. In fact, this is like a point of no return. Versus mode false, this shouldn't even be here really. versus mode false should simply be when you go to the title screen. Here we go. If I just put it right here, if you're on case title, then versus mode will just be false. That should fix that just fine. So when you hit confirm, you know, versus mode is true. You go to the room of the cursor position based on that array. Menu level equal none means you're just exiting all the menus. Okay, here's the complicated mouse thing. So it's not as crazy as it looks. Basically, I had to think about this code right here, and then I duplicated it. First of all, you got the mouse Y position. I know where row 1 is based on, I was doing the draw part of it first, actually, before I figured out the mouse stuff. I've got a standard separates distance for everything and the X position, and I move it based on a separate position, and then the Y, the next row, row 2, has like an extra Y. There, it's kind of like a square separation. Oh yeah, those numbers for the level select, I'm eventually going to make them like level pictures, basically, like little thumbnails, so you'll know what level they are. They're all separated out. You can look at it here. If you want to pause the video, you can check out how the X is separated, negative and then plus, so it's drawing, basically referencing from the center of the screen. That's what the X is that I've shown in previous devlogs. I have the cursor. The cursor has 3 different levels because all my other menu levels are kind of like a single line that the mouse just checks where it is on that line and it moves the cursor there. But with the level select, it's kind of like a grid. Unless I were to use objects for all my cursor positions, which I'm not doing, I'm just drawing the cursor based on an algorithm. I have it checked to where if the cursor is less than 6, meaning 0 through 5, that's on the top row. And so it takes the X position based on the cursor position, and then the Y is just set. And then if it's not, basically if it's above 6 or 6 or above, then it checks if it's less than 12, which means it's on row 2, and it has like a set Y position. It's the same X code except minus this because it's a higher cursor number, and then it has a different Y position to draw at. So the same thing with that next line. I used that thinking to check for the Y position on the cursor for the row. I figured out where the Y position of the mouse would have to be for it to be on row 1, and then I check the horizontal position of the mouse to decide what cursor position it is. And then similarly, I find out where it would be for row 2, because if it's not in row 1, then check if it's in row 2. And then it's kind of like the same X position checking, but then it just makes it the higher cursor number for what it would be on row 2. And then I just repeat. So if I want to add another row, I'd copy all of this, paste it, change the Y positions up here, and then change the cursor numbers. I don't have to like mess with the X stuff anymore. And these separation points are like kind of in between, where these are like 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, and then 3, where drawing it was 2.5, 1.5, 0.5, and then plus 0.5, 1.5, 2.5. So it's kind of like an in-between position, the checking for the mouse versus where you're actually drawing it. And then real quick, if I want to look at the tank treads, I started off with like an full tank trail, and it didn't look good. It was too thick. So I just have a single line, or a single double line, I guess, and that is drawn by the player when it moves. Or if X does not equal X previous or Y does not equal Y previous, it means you've moved. In that case, it creates an instance of that tank trail with image alpha 0.2. It's already like not a full image. It's already starting at a sort of faded image. Image angle matches the player's image angle, and then the object of the tread. So the step event on here is simply reduce the alpha 0001 because I want the fade to be very slow. And then if image alpha reaches 0, it just destroys itself, so it doesn't stack up too many objects over time. But that is the conclusion of day 9. If you have any other questions about what I've built in here, you can let me know in the comments below so I can answer them for you to help you learn how to code in GameMaker. Or if you have any critique of my code, maybe you can let me know how I can do better. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.